Greetings, hello from Round Rock, Texas, home to the Lodge Card Club. So I'm about to go play on a live stream. Surely there will be more shenanigans and craziness, as there always is on these live streams. Just wanted to get face to face with you real quick to make a couple of announcements. So we're going to be doing the meetup game thing at the Hustler Casino, June 4th and 5th. That's the first weekend in June. It's coming up very fast. If you guys can be there, be there. That's Saturday and Sunday. The usual fun meetup games, bomb pots, vlogging, all the above. Hope to see you guys there if you can make it. And then announcement number 2 is a massive one. So we have been cranking out these vlogs since October of 2016. I'm trying not to look into the screen up there, and I'm trying to focus on you, the audience. I'm really new at this, so this is super awkward, but I don't know, it's kind of fun too. That is when I finally got over the hump. I had kicked around the idea of firing up this channel for several months before that. Sort of debated whether it would be worthwhile, whether it would be any good, whether anyone would watch it. Just felt like I could maybe tell some stories on this channel and share it with you guys, and hopefully 1 or 2 people would tune in to watch it. I think one of the most important takeaways from the whole vlog project thing is that I'm happy that I just pulled the trigger and did it and started it. Starting is the hardest part for any project. Obviously, 5 years later, I'm very happy with that decision. This has been such an awesome ride in the vlogging streets. Poker vlogging has become a massive genre here on YouTube, and it's been fun to see lots of other creators come into the space and sort of just blow this genre up to what it is today. This is sounding like I'm retiring from poker vlogging, and that is not the case. I'm not done yet. Not done yet, you guys can't get rid of me yet. In fact, quite the opposite. So ever since I started this channel, the idea has always been to keep these videos free of charge and to just provide as much value in whatever form that may come as possible. Value in the form of entertainment or information, poker information, maybe somebody learned something along the way, or some combination of the two. Infotainment, if you will. So yeah, I've always tried to keep these vlogs as value heavy as possible and completely free. So the plan was to eventually find partnerships for myself. That way, the audience always gets all the content for free. And we can grow this poker audience as much as possible that way. We can grow the vlog audience as much as possible without putting up a paywall, and really try and get the poker info and, again, this entertainment out to the masses, if possible. And I think we've done that, and I think it's been a really good model to pursue. And as of late, that seems to be coming to fruition. Earlier this year, it came to fruition first by partnering up with the guys who were running the Lodge Card Club, as we built what is essentially a dream team of operators and fellow owners. And that has been a really cool experience, despite getting one-outed on the live stream occasionally. That has been really fun, and I hope it will continue to be quite the experience in years to come. There is a company that recently reached out to me to see if I would be interested in a partnership. And this sort of thing has come up countless times over the years. Ever since this YouTube channel started getting traction, there's been companies that have reached out to see if maybe our goals were aligned and if I'd be interested in doing some sort of a partnership with them, whether that's online poker companies, whether that is companies that are not related to poker whatsoever. And pretty much the answer has always been no. I just felt like I wanted to try and play the long game and wait for a company that had a really good fit where the goals were aligned perfectly. And I'm happy to announce that I have, in fact, found just the perfect company. I'm going to be partnering up with the World Poker Tour. They've reached out to me and asked if I would like to be an ambassador for the World Poker Tour, and the answer is yes. I would absolutely love to. This is a company that has had such a stellar reputation over the years. I've been a fan of the World Poker Tour ever since I became a poker fan And this was before I even became a professional poker player. I was watching the World Poker Tour on the Travel Channel, and that's, you know, one of the main shows that really got me into this profession, this lifestyle, and they've been such a trailblazer in the industry. Honestly, it's a little bit surreal to have gotten to this point. If I think back to those days of watching those tournament final tables on the Travel Channel, it would just be a complete pipe dream to have thought that, yeah, maybe one day I will be able to wear the WPT patch and partner with that company and be able to do things together. They very much said that they just want me to continue to do my thing, but to be able to use their resources to make this thing even better for all of you guys. They've sent me the list of WPT stops over the next 12 months or so. I can't share that right here, but I can say that it looks ridiculously amazing, and I'll be able to pick and choose which ones that I get to go to and capture and share here. Lots of international stops in Vegas, and just all around awesomeness that I can't wait to partake in and share with you guys. They're also going to be able to do stuff that include giveaways here on the channel and just allow me to deliver, hopefully, a lot more value to you guys. And that is the plan. I get to join my fellow content creator, Brad Owen. His channel is obviously taken off like a rocket ship. And, you know, he started his channel a couple months after mine. And shortly after that, we've been on this ride together and trying to find our way through a space where there's no real blueprint, and we've just been trying to carve out a path for ourselves. So we'll be partnering up together at the WPT. We've got the lodge here in Austin, and we're going to be able to do tons of cool stuff to get you guys involved as well. So that's the announcement. It's, again, I don't think it's really hit me, all these things that have happened, especially this one. It feels so surreal to be able to partake in a partnership with the World Poker. It's the World Poker Tour. I mean, I'll never forget the World Poker Tour final table that Antonio Esfandiari won when he got the pocket aces, got his opponent to shove into him, and he just holds those two aces up in the air.
I'm all in.
Oh, no. He's doing it. I'm all in, and look at this. Antonio stands up and shows the two aces. He's got the goods, folks. The dream hand. As a poker player, Vince, this is what you dream about all your life.
Genuinely cannot believe that I am now an ambassador for the World Poker Tour. So just tons of excitement as this vlog train rolls on. Tons more to share with you guys, both live and online. World Poker Tour has multiple online poker platforms that I'll be able to do things and be a part of. Just a little trying to come up with all the words here to explain how this feels. But yeah, that is the announcement. More to come on that front. But for now, I am off to go play some poker on a live stream at the lodge.
From the Lodge Mahal in beautiful Round Rock, Texas, welcome to the Lodge live stream.
This first hand doesn't even involve me, but it's just too ridiculous not to share. There's a $25 straddle on, and Pocket Queens limps in from the hijack, folds over to the big blind, and a player by the name of Dirty Diaper raises to $125. And then the $10 blind 3-bets to $425 with Jack 10. Now what with the Queens? Cold call, I guess, which brings along the pocket nines too. 3 ways to 10-5-4 rainbow, nines checks, Jack 10 C-bets with top pair. Queens has no idea what's going on at this point and finds a fold here. Mr. Dirty Diaper rips it in with his pocket nines, and Jack 10 snap calls. The 9 of clubs was already folded, so Dirty Diaper has one out in this $4,500 pot, but no problem because bang, 9 of spades on the turn, which actually gives Jack 10 a flush draw, but that's too many outs. You want 1 out, not 6. Nines is gonna take it down, Queens loses the minimum, and it's time to make it rain.
He's making it rain. Look at him making it rain. He told me he might have something in store. And there you go. There's the table sound.
All right, so that's the scene we're working within today. 5, 10, 20, sometimes more. No limit. Texas Hold'em on a casual Monday afternoon at the Lodge. First hand that involves me, we see a raise from early position to $40, a couple of callers, and I defend the straddle with a suited 10-4. Flops super well here, giving us top 2 pair. I check it, hoping to see a continuation bet, but that doesn't happen, unfortunately, and the action checks around. Turn is a safe one, and with no action on the flop, we should still have the best hand here. 2 flush draws on the board now, so I size it up, betting $200, but nobody has anything to fight back with, so we take down a pot in the early going. Hijack limps into this hand over a $25 straddle, and I have ace 10 of spades in the cutoff. Very playable and off of the best hand, so I make it $100 to go. E finds something that he likes a lot on my direct left though, and 3 bets to $350. E is a solid player, and I'm not looking to battle too much in bloated pots out of position, but folding feels a little too weak to me, so I'm gonna see a flop. Loving what I see here as it gives us top pair plus nut flush draw. I check it to E, who continues for $175. Whatever we do is fine as long as what we do doesn't include folding. So I call, we head to the turn, which gives us the absolute nuts. I check again, hoping some more money goes into this pot, and E obliges with a bet of $475.
E is coming out firing. Andrew is loving life.
Love to see it, of course, but I'm actually unsure on what's the best line here. He can't be setting up a multi-street bluff with an ace of spades, which in my mind means that he likely has something pretty good. And with these stack sizes, there's only one raise size that makes sense because I'm never going to be raising to, say, $1,000 and only leave myself $500 behind. So I stick it all in, and of course, E won't be calling with this hand. But to be honest, I'm a little surprised to see that he could have what's essentially a no spade airball here. Had I known that, the obvious play is to just flat and keep his range wide, but it's always easy when you can see the cards afterward.
Nice hand for Andrew Neeme.
You had it?
Yeah. Tells the table he had it.
I thought I had it.
In the midst of the Texas stand-up game here, where you're extra incentivized to win a hand or else pay a bounty to the rest of the table if you're the last man standing. That makes me want to raise it up here with the 10-9 offsuit from the cutoff to $65. Mixon calls in the small blind, Chris calls in the first straddle, and Mclovin comes along in the second straddle. 4 ways to a flop, which comes down as dry as possible. Queen 7 deuce rainbow. Action checks to me. I don't really recommend trying to bluff versus 3 opponents in Texas, but there's so little available on this board for people to continue with. I can also turn a straight draw on any 6, 8, jack, or king, as well as improve the second pair on a 9 or a 10. And we aren't going to get to sit back down without giving it a shot.
Andrew Neeme's going to take a stab at it with 9-10. 120. He gets one player to fold, and Andrew Neeme's going to get a chance to sit down.
No! Playable hand here for Chris, who raises to $60. The button calls. I have 10-8 suited in the small blind. Slightly adventurous being out of position, but nobody likes a nit, so I call, and the rest of the boys fold. Top pair here on 10-7-3 rainbow. I check to the raiser, who continues for $75. Agent Dark. Awesome name, by the way. He calls on the button, and we have an easy call here with top pair. 9 of spades on the turn adds a straight draw to our holdings, but this time action checks all the way around. Queen on the river here downgrades us from top pair to second pair, and I don't think there's too much to get value from with a bet, so I check it a third time. Chris checks, and Mr. Agent Dark, he won't be checking. He wagers 2 black chips, and now I have a decision. There was the 8-9 open-ender and a couple of gut shots like 5-6 and 5-4 available on the flop, which would be missed straight draws. Those hands would want to bluff here to try and win it, and it seems unlikely that he'd have a better 10 since the action check through on the turn. A river 2 pair seems unlikely, so he'd need to have floated with some sort of king-queen or queen-jack type hand in order to find top pair here. Seems like he should have bluffs enough of the time to cover the small number of value hands he can have here. So for $200, I'm gonna pay to see it. Cutoff limps in here, and we're gonna have to play for more money when I find king queen off on the button. I make it $50 to go. Mixon comes along in the big blind, and Agent Dark agrees to the new price. So 3 of us headed to the flop. Something for everybody on the King Jack 4 board. Action checks to me, and I wager $80. Mixon needs a little more than bottom pair, so he folds, but the cutoff has plenty to continue with. Brick on the turn, but now Agent Dark hops out of flow and bets into me for $125. Kind of surprising, and I could see a raise or a call with this hand. If I have 2 pair, maybe even ace king, I could definitely see a raise, but this one feels like it's pretty close to the borderline, so I continue with a call. Queen on the river is a great one since we can beat all 2 pairs now, And when he checks it to me, it's a virtual guarantee that we have the best hand. I can size up for a fair amount since there's plenty of misdraws available.
475 into a pot of 572. So almost, what, 80% bet there of the pot. Targeting a king, a big king, gets paid, and Andrew, what a bet.
I got the $20 straddle on here. Action folds all the way around to Agent Dark, who limps in, and I check it back to see a cheap flop, which comes down rather favorable. My opponent picks the wrong time to bet 2 times the pot here, which in the moment I'm trying not to laugh about, and continue with a call. Deuce on the turn, and now he checks it, which we won't be doing. I fire out $125, hoping my opponent has an ace, which apparently isn't required because Agent Dark makes the call here. 8 on the river, and he checks it to me again, and I'm gonna fire away, hoping he won't be able to fold an ace to a big bet, but this time he surrenders the king high. Mclovin raising to $30 here. I have an offsuit king 10 in the small blind, which should probably be folded, but did I mention that nobody likes a nit? Mixon calls in the third blind, and we got a 3-way affair headed to a flop, which comes down pretty favorable.
Another flop boat for Andrew. Second time I was 5s full of aces about a half hour ago, and now 10s full of kings here.
Trouble for Mixon.
Let's see what happens. Mclovin bets 25, Andrew calls, and here comes the juice from Mixon, a buck and a squirt. Welcome back to the stream, 125. BNS.
You love this. Look at Andrew. Just calls.
This has to ring a little bit of an alarm bell here for Mixon. Losing to all 10s, of course. His kicker is trash, so he's got to be worried about that. What is Andrew really calling this raise with? Imagine Andrew will check. I think Mixon will be wise enough to slow down here, but let's see what he wants. In the tank here, thinking does slow down, saves himself a little extra coin.
Mixon takes the aggressive lead on the flop, but then checks back on the turn. Once the river essentially bricks out, having so much of the board locked up, preventing Mixon from having value combos. My belief is that he'll likely have to bluff to win here. But as it turns out, he was raising with top pair to clean up the equities. I might have missed out on some value here on the river when action goes check, check, but it's tough to know how much I could have squeezed out versus a weak top pair. Round 2 of Texas stand-up, a couple of folds to me on the button, and when you're playing the stand-up game, you can't let a suited one-gapper go in position. I raise to $125 over a $40 straddle and get a mere 4 callers. Not a great result when you have 4 high, but that's okay when the flop comes down favorable. Action checks around to me, and I'm going to continue here for the same sizing that I might if I had a hand like King Queen, betting in between a quarter and 1/3 pot. The diaper in seat 1 has a vulnerable overpair and recognizes that I could be betting a wide range here and decides he wants to thin the field for a raise up to $375. The other 2 get out of the way, and obviously we're continuing. If he happens to have a flush draw or combo draw like ace-5 of spades, something like that, we want to keep him in and hope he improves with those hands, and we should be able to double through the stronger hands like ace-deuce pretty easily on later streets regardless. So I call. King of hearts isn't a good one for my opponent, so now he checks it. I won't be checking, but don't want to blast out those drawing hands or the middling pairs, so I make a wager of around 1/3 pot.
No way Andrew faces a one-outer again.
Andrew could be doing this very light just so he can sit down here. We're getting a little bit late in the game.
Could he take another one-outer? Don't say it.
Goes for 450. I like this sizing. Has Diaper thinking about it. Diaper does not like this King of Hearts here on the turn.
Andrew's standing for a reason. We're playing the stand-up game. Win a pot, and there's the call.
Yeah, makes the call here.
9 from space would crush Andrew.
Diaper is checking all rivers here unless it's a 9.
Oh my God, this cannot be happening.
Wow.
The second one-outer.
Are you kidding me? What is happening?
God.
I'm getting pretty good at getting drawn out on by one-outers, but the silver lining is that my opponent saved me $1,400 by just calling and not jamming over my bet. Granted, he loses to kings full and quads, but maybe he's just a nice guy. Well, not so nice that he doesn't take this opportunity to make it rain on the dealer and announce that he's doing it with my money.
And here comes
God.
Making it rain.
Andrew's money, baby.
And now needling Andrew. Andrew's money here on the table. Oh, there, Damon knows what to do there. Puts it right down the shirt. He's been to an establishment or two. But that 9.
I can't believe how many one-outers can a guy take in a week.
Same stand-up game here, and the only 2 of us left standing are E on my left and myself. If one of us wins this hand, the other guy has to pay $50 to each player at the table. This hand gets started with E coming in for a raise to $60. Mclovin is in from the small blind, and I defend last to act with the suited 8-4 of clubs.
E, Andrew, and Mclovin in this pot. All with clubs.
And 2 clubs. Are you kidding me? Wow. Juicy flop here. Flush draw for all, and E has him outpipped with the queen.
Raise it, 400.
Flop is a spicy one, and there's a C-bet and a raise before it gets back to me. Not only do I have a straight draw, flush draw combo, I have extra incentive to win this hand because it'll save me from having to pay the stand-up bounty. With the raise to $400 and my having a $2,300 stack, I can either cold call or...
He rips it. A stand-up game rip.
Legend.
And now what does E do, shaking his head? Well, E, you can't get stacked because you have the largest stack.
He lays it down. And
Mclovin calls.
Oh my God. Wow.
Mclovin in good shape here with this pair of 6s. He also has clubs.
I was somehow ahead.
Andrew's going to need an 8 or a 7.
We are in not so great shape here, drawing to a worse flush, and my 4 is no good unless we can make a straight out of it.
And there's the 7.
Andrew Neeme.
Mclovin's still live for another club here.
What the heck?
There you
Wow.
go, Andrew.
Andrew, take a seat, sir. And E will have to pay that bounty.
What, you think these guys are the only ones who can get there? I can get there too.
He was due.
And imagine if E would have called that, it would have been a huge pot.
Action folds to me on the button here. I have a suited jack, not the prettiest hand ever, but nobody likes a nit. I make it $35 to go, and we get 2 calls out of the blinds. 7-4-3 rainbow, usually a good flop for the pre-flop callers, but the button opening range is wide enough that we can have a good mix of these cards in our hand too. So when action checks to me, I'm gonna stab for $55. Mix and folds his nothing, but the straddler has a good ace high hand that he decides to peel with. Turn is a 9, it doesn't change much, but I do have a blocker to the straight and a measly jack high that I'm not looking to take to showdown. After my opponent checks, I fire the second barrel for 80% of the pot.
Don't think Diaper's going to come along here for 175. Let's try.
It's like a rough game. Oh, sure. I mean, if you got a bit, you got a bit? Like so much more.
Diaper asks him if he's got a pair, and Andrew smiles. No. Don't have a pair. But I got all the money.
Next hand off of the deck, 2, 5, 10, 25. Agent Dark limping in here in the hijack, and we find Ace King in the cutoff. I make it $100 to go, and action folds back around to the limper, who 3-bets it to $200. Not a very standard line here, and it doesn't seem like he'd do this with a weak or even mediocre hand, so I'm not gonna go crazy pre-flop in this spot. I toss in the extra $100 and we head to a flop. Queen 10-3, giving us a gutter along with the 2 overs. We face a C-bet of $200, so with those factors going for us, I can't fold, but I'm still treading lightly. 5 of diamonds, adding a second flush draw, and now my opponent checks. Just kind of chilling here, not going to be able to fold out any of the bigger hands in range, so I take the free card off. River's the king of clubs, completing the front door flush draw. My opponent checks it to me again, and I'm trying to find a hand that 3-bet pre-flop that I can now get value from. I doubt there's value from pocket jacks. Pocket queens, kings, and aces all beat us, and I'm not sure what else is really in range here. So I check it back, and I take it to showdown.
Goes check, check. Andrew takes down 842.
E raises to $30 from under the gun, 2 calls, and we find the best hand ever created. Good thing we stopped at the Big Pair store right down the street in Round Rock, Texas. 3-bet time up to $200. E's gonna stick around, 1 fold in between, and Chris is in there as well. 3 ways to a lovely looking ace high board. I don't hate a trap here, especially with the ace of hearts, since we block a lot of continues, but I would also c-bet a lot of range on an ace high board, so let's do that with the goods. I make it $240. E gets out of there right away, but Chris continues with second pair and 2 backdoors. Turn is the king of hearts. We might be worried in some instances when the front door flush completes, but with a set and nut flush redraw, that's a bunch of equity, even when we happen to be behind in this instance. So I'm firing again, this time for $380, but a lot of hope for Chris's hand is gone after that turn card and he lets it go. Next hand off the deck here, and Mixon brings it in for $40. Mclovin calls in the cutoff, and you guys probably thought I only made a single purchase at the Big Pair store, but no, this time we have queens in the big blind. 3-bet time again, and I make it $180 to go. Both of these guys continue, and we've got ourselves another 3-way flop. 8-3 deuce with a flush draw. Not sure down betting versus 2 opponents and letting them peel too wide is great, so I bet $250. Mixon can't fold while Mclovin gets out of the way. Turn is an offsuit 5, kind of an interesting one where I can maybe have ace-4, but as for the rest of the strong hands, things like sets and 6-4 suited, that's all going to be more present in Mixon's range here rather than my pre-flop 3-betting range. It's also good to have some callable strong hands in a checking range, which is something that a smart poker player might say. So I'm going to pretend I'm one of those and say that and check it over to Mixon. He's got a hand that he probably wants to charge ace highs with, so he goes for a bet around half pot here. Obviously we're calling and heading into a river, and we see another 8 peel off. Don't think it makes sense to take the lead on this river, so I check it again, and Mixon fires one last street for $875. We lose to the aforementioned hands, but now we also lose to hands like 8-7 and 8-9 that are certainly within range. But there's also some draws out there, and on top of that, there's the occasional jacks or 10s that my opponent could even bet for value that we beat. And a good rule of thumb is that when you can beat value bets, you're almost always going to find a call for a reasonable price.
Mixon for taking the lines that he took on that hand, but a very well played there hand by Mr. Neeme, and he takes down 4K. So on the comeback trail is the 7th seed.
Oh, he's way in on the comeback trail.
Action folds to me in this hand, looking at ace-9 of clubs in the cutoff. I raise it to $75 over a $25 double straddle. Only Mixon calls my raise out of the small blind this time. So the two of us going heads up to a flop of 8-7-5 with 2 hearts. He checks it to me. Ace high, just gonna check it back here and see what develops. Turns a brick and he checks it again. I think I'll have the best hand sometimes, but also losing to some better ace highs, so maybe we can start betting to try and fold out those hands. I bet $85, and maybe my story isn't really all that believable in choosing this street to bet, and Mixon calls pretty quickly here. Not to worry though, as the offsuit 6 just rolls right off on the river, giving us the straight. He checks it, and I'm looking for value with my straight, betting $275, but as we can see, Mixon was looking for a straight himself that did not materialize and is left with jack high, which he can easily toss into the muck. $25 double straddle on again, and hijack limps in, and we find a double suited gapper in position. I'm gonna stay on the attack here with things going well lately, making it $130 to go over that limper. Chris calls in the blinds, and the limper completes for a 3-way flop. Pretty dry board here. My 2 opponents check it. I got jack high and a backdoor straight draw, but I've got the betting lead, so I'm gonna try and get it with a bet of $130. Super dry board, as mentioned. Nobody has anything whatsoever, so we're gonna take it with the jack high here. Very next hand off the deck, and as soon as the suggestion of the stand-up game gets made, everyone agrees and we're back on our feet here. Honestly, I think it's pretty fun. It looks so basic, it's simple, but it's a nice twist to the game, adds an extra element of strategy, and it's just good to get on our feet. We find ace-jack right off the bat here in the hijack, and I raise it to $35. E calls, Chris calls in the big blind, and Mclovin puts in the squeeze out of the 3rd blind up to $275. I have one of those hands where all 3 options are on the table, Doug Polk style. I can call and try and navigate post-flop versus a squeezing range. I could fold since there could be some reverse implied odds with this hand and it probably doesn't play all that well multi-way. Or I can raise, turning it into a bluff and using a hand that has removal to stronger hands. Mclovin also isn't one to not take these kind of squeeze spots, so that's what leans me into taking the aggressive route here. I 4-bet to $580. Really not looking to see a 5-bet jam. We'll be happy to see everyone fold, But instead, it gets back to Mclovin, who does neither of those things, and he makes the call. So we're going heads up with $1,200 in the middle, and my opponent has a little less than that in his stack. There's going to be some tricky spots once it gets to this point, but this flop will not be a tricky one.
And there's a jack on this flop. Mclovin likely to get stacked again, Rick. Goes all in.
Oh my goodness.
Andrew snaps him off, and Mclovin in a world of trouble. Drawing to only 2 remaining kings, all he can do is shake his head.
Oh my goodness, Mclovin.
King and a king only.
King of hearts or king of clubs?
Paint,
Does
but not the
come.
paint that Mclovin wanted to see. That might be lights out for Mclovin.
And Andrew's going to get to take a seat. But can he leave in a stand-up game? Can you just say no mas?
Dude, I was
Not allowed.
Not allowed.
Frowned upon.
Cumulative wings. And look at Andrew from the depths of the 9 of hearts.
every time he's like, no, Charles will be
Leading the way up 7,500. Dirty Diaper up 6,800. E up 1,800.
2, 5, 10, 20, 40, 80 in this hand. Casual Texas blinds. I find the King Jack offsuit on the button, and I'm going to go ahead and get after all these blind bets, making it $250 to go pre-flop. The $10 straddle spot makes the call with a big hand, and nobody else has anything worth calling. So the two of us go heads up to a flop, which comes down 10, 8, 7 with 2 clubs. He checks to me, and with no showdown value, but a little something to work with in the form of a gutter and straight blocker, I c-bet for $275. That's not going to get the job done on this flop as my opponent continues, which I did not want to see. Turn is a 3 of spades, adding a second flush draw, and this time when my opponent checks, I think I'm just going to wave the white flag. We could try and muscle it through, but I'd prefer to have at least a little more equity than just a gutter ball on a board with 2 flush draws that we don't have removal to. I check it back, and the front door flush completes. Seat 1 assembles a bet and fires, but as mentioned, we're done with it at this point. It's a $500 loss in the last significant hand of a swingy session for me, but with the way that swing came back in my favor in this one, I'm stoked to book a really good win here on the Lodge live stream in Round Rock, Texas. All right, guys, wrapping up the session here. That ended up being a very entertaining and enjoyable stream to be a part of. Very fun poker game that we played. It was looking good right off the bat, and then there was a little hiccup along the way, and then of course things swung back in my favor in the middle to late stages of this game. Really fun playing the stand-up game a few times. I still haven't lost the stand-up game. I've played it 4 times now, and I've not had to pay out the bounties. I'm sure it'll happen eventually, no doubt. But yeah, just a fun game and a fun trip, which somehow gets me unstuck after this session here. We get into the game tonight for $3,100. We cash out for $9,000 and something for a profit of $6,000 and something. I'll put the actual numbers right here in the screen so you can get it, the official data there. But somehow get all the way unstuck and into Profitville after getting shellacked by DQ in that other stream game. Had my biggest PLO single session win in between that first stream game and today. I booked a win of $8,400 in a 1-2-5 PLO game. Had the small winning session where we gave away $500 in profits, which was an absolute blast to do. I want to do a lot more of that sort of thing. And then we booked the 6K plus win today to get all the way unstuck on the trip. Awesome time here in Round Rock, hanging out at the Lodge and elsewhere. Gonna be back here around the 20th or so. Official meetup game on the 22nd. I'll be in Vegas in the meantime before coming right back here for no doubt more drama and more excitement in the poker games, in the live stream games, in the PLO games, and all the above. All right, would love it if you guys would click like and subscribe and all that stuff. See you guys very soon.